Welcome back to the Ikko Ikki Abridged, where last time we faced a whole bunch more castle defences, including two particularly good ones against our rogue vassal the Akizuki, which saved us a lot of trouble. We also made some progress against the Shimazu, and we're nearly there with that, just need to hang on a bit more. With the Akizuki, since we defeated their two armies recently, thought we might as well get all of the stuff we have garrisoning the area together, which is quite a lot of stuff because there's so much public order duty going on, and try to quickly go out and take their castle before they rebuild an army, so we'll take a look at that next turn. Meanwhile, we've got an army moving up on the Shimazu right here. This siege isn't that good, and I'm just going to leave them under siege, but that's fine because it's cancelling some recruitment for us. And our other army just off to the left of the screen there will move in to replace the garrison of the castle we just left, which will matter in a second. I'm also going to make a move here against the Mogami. You might remember there's actually an enemy stack in the castle in that forest off to the east here. It's been there for a long time, not attacking us. I think it might have had to do like 10 turns of replenishment or something after we really owned them up on their way in. So I've been waiting around for them to attack, and since it hasn't happened, I'm going to risk making this move with the force I had to defend against them. We can go and attack this Mogami castle, and that's a good balance bar. We'll just take it back right away, and the Mogami can't respond because we have their main force under siege just to the west there, and I do want them to sally out, so if they would try to break out to do something about it, that would be grand. And if they don't, then these units can come over and join this little setup over here to perhaps make it a bit better for us. Now in the Shimazu turn, they send their army to attack that castle I just marched out of, then re-garrisoned with another army, meaning we get a pretty good situation here. We've got a decent enough half stack with a half stack of free garrison units, and the balance bar's okay. Considering this is a siege defense as well, a great chance to hammer things home with the Shimazu. I made a mistake at the start of this one. I was setting everyone up to receive the enemy, but there was this bit of the wall I've left empty even though the enemy are running at it. And that was just because those units started off hidden and I didn't think they were there. And then I didn't really react fast enough either to eventually seeing them was probably looking the other direction or something. I started sending this unit to go stand in their way. It's a bit of an annoying route to get there from the middle of the castle. Luckily this door is passable, so that's all good. But basically we set up, then just ran away since the enemy had arrived by the time the guns were there. And I do already have the fallback strategy set up here. You can see I've got a Yari wall of Yari Ronin set up in front of the gate, and the enemy will probably just run right into the front of it, and then we'll see what happens with that really. Elsewhere, we're going to sacrifice as many garrison units as we can to thin the enemy out, because this is a great battle to force the enemy to take losses against our garrison, keep our main units alive, and then counterattack. So that's the idea. We're not going to do anything too fancy. I will just let my ranged units fight in melee when the enemy climb up, get as many kills as they can, and the enemy don't have that much stuff, so they probably can't force the castle that way anyway, meaning it's a safe strategy even if I didn't want to sacrifice them. Now we also have this cheeky move. There's this garrisonable little bit of wall where I can put the guns in a position shooting into the flank of the enemy blob in front of the Yari wall. It doesn't work very well, the pathfinding totally messes up, but we do get like 10 guys at least sniping into the side of this samurai blob, picking up some handy kills, and I'm sure the Yari wall's doing a good job as well. The guys are just kind of standing there, but it's probably killing the enemy with a bit of magic. Breaking my own rules really, because I'm using a real unit, the Yari Ronin, to do that. But at least elsewhere we're sacrificing lots of garrison units, and that just feels good all the time. On the southern wall though, I did actually fall back when the enemy climbed up, because in this case I could force the enemy to go through this tiny choke point where I could throw my other unit of Yari Ronin in Yari wall to block them again. Not as effective because we can't shoot into their flank, but still should pick up some kills. Just gonna skip to the end now. Basically everything died in that setup, and things generally went fine for us. Their generals threw themselves in at the end to kill themselves as well, giving us this result. The enemy army is totally taken down. Our army's looking pretty good, so that's prime time for a bit of a counterattack against those two castles in the background there. But first, more shenanigans. We see another naval invasion come in from the Kono clan. This one's kind of near the Mogami siege. We're facing south with the camera here. So we will have an army in the area to deal with that, whatever they go and get up to. But we've also got this going on. Our old friends the Origami are sending another giant wave of trash against our big castle at Himeji, so just need to sit back and let them die really. This is the map where they have that easy way to the capture point, or quote-unquote easy. They send a few units to attack this northern wall. All I need to do is sacrifice some garrison in the way, and it's pretty unlikely the Yari militia will get through there. They've got a whole bunch of units all over the place that will run through the tower arcs of fire all the time, and just generally die climbing up small walls out there, so don't need to worry about that. And I've also got some cav being annoying. I realise the AI really likes to send some of its besieging force to attack your cav outside the castle, so you don't even really need to do anything with these guys. They can just hang around and make the enemy attack less forcefully. Here we are some time later. Looks like the stuff at the northern wall's been taken out. The other units got near to the centre, but gradually were killed, and that's the end of that really. Let's skip to the result. We absolutely annihilated them and lost pretty much nothing, and that which we did lose will be brought back from the dead. So that's all good. Now there's another rebel battle for us to deal with, this time in a new location at the top right of Kyushu. It's a pretty powerful force compared to this measly garrison, but I thought I'd give this one a go anyway, because not only do you never know what's going to happen with sieges, you might win by a glitch or something, but it would be nice to bring down a couple of enemy units or something. We have the same map we just saw earlier, where I can set up things to be shooting into the flank of enemies. Tried it here more effectively with more archers actually making the attacks, but the enemy don't seem to be dying or paying any attention whatsoever really. I don't know what's going on. There seems to be some sort of glitching happening. But my attacks didn't last long because they can go through the mysterious passable door and get to my troops pretty easily. I don't have enough men to guard all of the castle approaches, so basically they run in, take the capture point, and that's the end of that. A close defeat. I don't think we really achieved anything there, but here was a nice turn up for the books. We get an event that allows me to repress all of my people for being too drunk or something, giving me +4 public order for a while. And that's perfect, because public order is one of the main things holding us back. That's going to make finishing off the Shimazu way easier. There's a massive naval party going on just here outside Himeji. Everyone came to watch the Uragami die, perhaps. And now, with their recent defeat, I started thinking something similar to what I was thinking with Akizuku. We might be able to actually take our tiny garrisons out and counterattack in a meaningful way. Here we only have a few troops to besiege this nearby castle. Their garrison's a bit bigger, but I've got this other little group that can come down as well. And all together, the balance bar is now okay, just because we have experience and a couple of good units. I was kind of hesitant about auto-resolving this, but I thought it probably will be better than a manual resolve. And we take it. We do actually suffer a bunch of casualties right here, but the good news is that with the Uragami recently defeated, we're unlikely to need this army again for a few turns. So we can pop it back in the castle, it will gradually come back to full health, and the Uragami have lost one of their castles, reducing their recruitment potential. Now with the Mogami, my group coming in from the right arrives, and I'm able to get everything outside the castle into this one fight. Pretty much the same balance bar we just saw, and again it's not the best result, but good enough for me. We clear those guys out. We don't actually quite kill them, and where they retreat to, they're still in range of my main besieging action, so we haven't really dealt with the outside the castle situation. But that's much better, and once again I just set up here to try and get the enemy to sally out. If they don't, then we can finish off the stuff outside the castle and make things a bit better for us next turn at the very least. With the Shimazu, I brought the army that recently created our Ito vassals down to help out with this siege I started at the beginning of this part. And with 2 stacks we can now take that castle easy peasy. So now the Shimazu are in trouble. They've only got 2 regions at the south end of the island. I start that siege I was going for against the Akizuki. Unfortunately they do actually have quite a lot of stuff in there, including a decent garrison. However, with this new +4 public order thing, I can go a while without having many of these nearby castles have all these troops in them. So we can actually put together like a full stack of generally just trash, but perhaps enough to contest with the full stack that's inside that castle. So I'm going to give that a go. With the Shimazu, I realised we might as well move out and take this castle here with my 2/3-ish stack of remaining good troops, since there's not much inside. Obviously it would be better to do this next turn because I could bring down the other army that's sitting just to the north. But it's also nice to take out this castle early because the Shimazu were going to recruit something and we're stealing a bit of money from them in the process. Had the option to make a vassal and I thought I would take it here just to have one fewer place for us to sort out once this is all over, because of course our main priority after defeating the Shimazu is to get out of here as soon as possible and travel halfway across the map to the other front lines or try to get onto Shikoku. So that little vassal will help out with that, in principle anyway. And now, onto another of our former vassals, The Mogami do sally out, so it's time for an everything versus everything fight here, a decisive battle for the fate of the Mogami, and it looks like we have a slight advantage, although many of our troops are split between different armies, so we're not going to have everything together on the map. We do, though, finally get the chance to use our big set of long Yari Ashigaru. I'm just going to stand right where I am, with my Yari wall ready to go. And then we'll concern ourselves with the reinforcement situations. First, we've got the enemy's reinforcements coming onto the field kind of near me with only a few units, so I dispatch some guys to go intercept them. Meanwhile, my reinforcements are in the back corner over here, and what I need to look for is whether the enemy will turn to attack them. That would be a good idea from them. They haven't done that. But this is also a good idea. They could attack my main force without the reinforcements and still be fighting a more favourable battle than the balance part suggests this will be. But to start with, we do intercept their reinforcements. They only have a couple of units and I sent a couple more to deal with them. So while I'm not sending anything that's good, it is just Ashigaru. We are Ashigaru versus Militia Ashigaru though, so we are a tier above them, whatever that means, and it's going to do the business. We do get some charge cancels annoyingly as I come in because the enemy changed direction. But overall, we're getting good fights. We're going to surround the main blob here and fight them from all sides, and since they are militia, it doesn't take long before they get out of there, and then as they go, we can absolutely annihilate them. So there we go, part one of the battle is already won. We've taken out one of their armies. Now those guys need to rush back to the formation because the enemy's main army is rushing right at the front of it, and my reinforcements are equally rushing behind them, trying to arrive in time, and they're certainly not going to arrive before this fight starts. Looks like my guns are considering firing at the enemy, but after a while they give it a miss and just get out of there. They were on skirmish mode, and I guess there wasn't even time to fire a volley before the skirmishing triggered, so that kind of sucked. But yes, we're just going to fall back behind the Yari wall and hope the enemy run into it. That's our overall strategy. But they have attacked my group here on the right, who weren't quite back into place before this fight started. And that's going to leave a gap in our line here. Luckily the enemy don't just pile right through it at first. Anyway, we'll come back to that. And for the most part they are doing what I want them to do, and that is to run into the front of the Yari wall. Now seeing this for the first time properly in action made me realise we don't actually have the full long Yari Ashigaru magic, because what's kind of meant to happen is the enemy get close to you and then they get pushed back away again by kind of repulsing force the unit has. And that means they can never trigger attack animations because they have to be in the range of their shorter weapons. And that's what makes your units invincible in that situation. But the enemy are pressing in through the Yari wall. They're not being repulsed to the extent that I thought. It's still having the magical effect where enemies will just die without you attacking them. So we're going to be killing the enemy en masse, but we will also take losses. It's not purely invincible like I've seen it be in previous campaigns and in different mods, I suppose. The mod might be to blame. Now we do get a bit owned up here on the right flank. They absolutely destroy one of the units and start moving around the side of my formation. Looks like we're on the verge of losing another unit over here because our Katana Ashigaru don't do very well against Generals Hatamoto. You really need the bonus against Cav that comes with the Yari and Naginata Ashigaru to deal with those units, and that is also happening over there. As for my own general, he's charged out around the left to attack this isolated unit of archers. That's an okay fight for us. But the real move we need to make in this fight is for our reinforcements to swoop into the enemy from behind, and here it is happening. They were all exhausted by the time they arrived, but I can pop a sprint on the whole group to not only increase their charge bonus and speed as they come in, but to have them ignore their stamina for like 30 seconds. And that's all we need, because with so many militia units on the field, we can get rid of them easily enough. And as they rout away from my reinforcements, they go into the front of the Yari wall, and we're going to pick up a whole bunch more kills. And that's the end of this battle, really. So we learned that I'm not going to be able to do the cheese I was expecting. I thought my stack of long Yari Ashigaru might cheese its way along, just absolutely mowing down everything, as I've seen it do before, but it seems they are vulnerable to melee attacks, which could be a problem. They're more like just a good unit of Yari Ashigaru, which is still good. This army is still going to be better than trash armies if you come up against them. Anyway, as for the result, we did lose a whole load of stuff, but no full units, and that's perfect. We can move on in and take the castle right now. Had the option to remake the Mogami, but I don't think we'll do that. We'll keep it for ourselves. There was a naval invasion nearby, so there are now 2 naval invasions near that Mogami territory that the army we just saw will have to go and deal with. But first, the long-awaited Hatakeyama invasion starts, and it starts in a strange fashion. They brought 2 stacks, but one of the stacks walked past the first castle. So the battle at the first castle is just going to be a one-on-one. And that's fine by me because this makes things easier. I've never seen the AI mess up in this particular way before, but thanks for doing it. Now we have an okay siege defense. They've got a couple of trebuchets out there. I figured this wouldn't mean much. I thought maybe they'll just deploy out of range and we can ignore them. But this bot is in range apparently, and not only that, it's in range of the very middle of our castle. So they're launching these shots up and they're landing where all our troops are actually concentrated. So this is potentially dangerous. They're actually hitting stuff and they might even blow up parts of the wall as well. Seeing this, I can't ignore them, so I had to send out the cav. Took them a while to gradually work their way out of the castle and over to the trebuchets, but they didn't do too much in the meantime, and now we arrive to take out the crews. Although that said, there are 120 crewmen out here, and I've only got like 20 or so cav, plus the second set of mangonels is willing to shoot into the first set, killing more of my guys. So it wasn't a complete guarantee we'd actually get away with this. Fortunately, as the grind went on, the enemy were easy enough to rout, so we are able to get rid of those mangonel crews. Meanwhile, everything else is jumping into the castle and we're doing the usual sacrifice strategy, putting some garrison units on the outer parts to delay the enemy as they come in and then slamming them with arrows and guns. The cav have done their job and then they continue to be useful because I just run them around for a bit and several enemy units chase them, lessening the intensity of their assault up here in the castle. And things, broadly speaking, went quite well, even better than expected. Many of their units were not able to get even past the second level of the castle, and I do have quite a few decent garrison units. The Katana run-in garrison in particular can mow down the enemy's Eshigaru. So here we are a while later. Long story short, it all just worked. The enemy routed, they failed to reach the centre of the castle, and the battle was a pretty easy win in the end. So that's Hatakeyama Invasion Force 1 cut down to size. And the other tanks just chilling over there, we'll see what they do. Just saw signs of another naval invasion coming in there, and the Kono are up to no good. The stack I mentioned earlier hidden in the forest is moving out, and a stack they landed earlier also in this part is coming to attack this castle. Didn't feel like doing a last stand this time since we don't have very much. Figured we just wouldn't really achieve anything worth doing. So we lose that territory, and they immediately move out towards the former Mogami territory. So that's good, since that's where our army is. Then, like most turns, we fight a battle at Osaka Castle. This time their entire army went across this northern bridge. So everything is funneled into our little kill zone. I've still got a lot of my units not actually here fighting them because I just couldn't be bothered to move them. I was extremely confident that just things like our Teppo retainers would hold the enemy because we'll shoot a bunch, then when they climb up we can mow down the Ashigaru in a somewhat favourable melee. And with the enemy really bunched together on this bridge, having a few archer units shooting in there is going to rack up kills nice and fast. So yeah, just played through the battle in fast motion, and soon enough the two sides have ground at each other at this gate, and it looks like the enemy came off worse, and of course all the stuff I'm using to grind is garrison stuff, so their sacrifice is irrelevant. That's another victory in the bag. Time to move on to do something about the Kono here. They've got two armies on the move. I can easily move one army into that castle nearby to stop them, but if they just attacked somewhere else that would be annoying. I need them to be obliging here really. With the Shimazu, it's time to deal the final blow. I get the two armies near their final castle together and go in, that's just an auto resolve. And down they go, and with that the Shimazu clan is completely defeated, and we've achieved the first part of my plan to continue winning the campaign basically. We've got Kyushu under our control, well apart from the Akazuki siege at the top, and now our main forces can start moving to actually counter some of the enemy factions that have been harassing us so far. We'll want to move generally up to the middle and top of Kyushu to either walk over the land bridge into Honshu or get shorter naval routes to sail somewhere. Going to attack Shikoku, the island next door, would probably be the best thing to do. However, the enemy have total water control, so any journey that takes more than one turn will be impossible, and even if we do have a one-turn journey, if we accidentally venture into some ship's zone of control, we would just lose an army instantly, so it's very hard for us to attack that island. The easiest way to do it is to get just north of it, like where they're landing troops right there, and make that tiny journey across where we can pretty much guarantee we can see the beach we're going to, and make it in one turn nice and easy. But that's a very long walk to get there basically. It's going to take us like 10 turns to even set up for that invasion. But you know, we have to do it at some point, so I guess we'll just have to survive another 10 turns or something. We'll see if I can find any better way of doing that. In the meantime, this Satake army, which we just saw had landed in our territory, is here making an attack at the nearby castle, and I thought I'll come down here to see if we can do anything about these guys. They very kindly mostly attacked in one location, which was quite good. However, that also caused them to overwhelm my defences, which were mostly just bow ashigaru fighting and melee. So they did swarm through, get to the capture point and bring us down. But while I haven't really shown it in this battle, over the course of the grinding as they gradually killed my men, we did kill about 1,000 enemies of the 2,500 they brought in. So that's not bad at all. However, it's not enough to stop them from moving on to immediately attack another castle. So again, it's a last stand, but this time the enemy start off weakened. So I fought it again, and we also get a better castle this time. It's this one, the one we've seen many times in this campaign so far. And here the enemy are going to be much less successful, because many of their units are damaged, and as they climb up the walls, it's doing an absolute number of casualties. Like as you climb up, it kills 30 of your guys, for example. But if you only came into the battle with like 70 guys, that's a pretty big deal and gives you a large morale shock by the time the climb is over. And, broadly speaking, they just didn't make it. Their units came in one by one and got taken down by the climb and of course the arrows that were being rained on them. And things generally worked out. Looks like they're making it into the middle over here, but they're wavering as they climb. We're probably going to take them out. And of course our entire army is completely sacrificable, so I don't mind letting them fight the bow ashigaru, take like 5 casualties, and that's enough to finish them off, that sort of thing. Here we are a while later. When the business is done really, we take out all the melee units that made it in, but the balance bar says there's still more to do, and what I think is happening here is something we have seen happen before. They've got a load of archers hidden in the forest around the castle, and they're just sort of sitting around, not really doing anything. Same deal with their cav. I was able to drop a few arrows onto these cav, but overall we're kind of out of options here. I would need to leave the castle to engage the enemy, and I don't want to. So instead we're going to do this the easy way but the slow way. I'm just going to stand here until the timer runs out, and that gives us this result. We've won the battle, so we've stopped them taking a second castle and cut them down to size. Not really in a position to counterattack or anything, but that's good. That's going to buy us some more time over there. And then we're back to the Hatakeyama thing, because the stack that walked past us and failed to invade earlier is now coming back for another go, but with their initial stack now dead, we're left with still a balanced engagement. I think this army is a bit better than the one they attacked with just now, but nothing too difficult either, so we'll start off next time with this defense.